Take my hand, I will show you the light. I will show you the glory of the Lord. I will show you. Oh, guys, Flattmeister here. Oh, oh, these journalists make me laugh. First, it was brought to my attention by Mark Kern on Twitter. He tweeted about Polygon's Far Cry 5 follow-up article to their review that they gave of Far Cry 5, and it's absolutely laughable. Now, cast your minds back to E3 of last year, which was about July, and this is before I had a YouTube channel, just before, and I spoke about this topic. It was when myself and it was on Switchpoint's channel. It was our first live stream we ever did. It was before I had my mic, my pop filter, my webcam, my old laptop, which then died on me. Before I had all this equipment, I just had that old laptop, and we did a live stream talking about all the games we were excited about that we saw at E3. And one of the games was Far Cry 5. And Ubisoft, they released the cropped photo. You know of the main the main poster, and it shows the protagonist, it shows the antagonist of the game at a dinner table. It's almost like the Last Supper kind of layout, but it was a cropped photo in which only showed the bad guy. They're all white people, and people are like going, yes, this is gonna. You've got people like Bob Chipman celebrating, and all these leftist bloggers celebrating this, like, yeah, this is gonna be a Christian Trump supporting killing simulation. Like, yeah, kill the Trump supporters, kill the Christians, the bigoted, anti-LGBT. Bigots and racists and white supremacists and KKKs. No, I didn't get that from the cropped photo. And then I think sort of about a week, maybe a few days later, Ubisoft then released the bigger photo of the poster, in which it showed the table was a lot longer. It was again laid out like the Last Supper. You had very diverse, different enemies at the table.
Oh my God!
There was white, black. There's all different people. And from day one, when I did that live stream with Switchpoint, and I said, I get the vibe. I get a doomsday prepper. These are like the end of days extremist cult. They're like a doomsday prepper / cult. At the end of days, and we will. So no, it was not a Trump supporter. But the funny thing is, Ubisoft, it's always been in the Assassin's Creed games. They've had that little disclaimer at the very beginning when you put in your disc of Assassin's Creed or any other Ubisoft game, like the Far Cry games, they go, our team is made up of, I'm trying to sort of paraphrase here. They've always said, like in the Assassin's Creed games, for instance, they've always said, this is inspired by historical events and characters. This work of fiction was designed, developed, and produced by a multicultural team of various religions, religious faiths and beliefs. Oh, apparently it's been changed. That was the old one. It was a multicultural team of various religious faiths and beliefs, and this, I presume, also is of other things, other like political leanings and things like that. But the games press makes us believe that the majority of AAA studios like Ubisoft, BioWare, Bethesda, they're all they're full of left-leaning people. A lot of liberal. It's quite a liberal industry. But I'm sure there's a lot of coders and programmers who don't feel the need to spout or claim that I'm conservative, I'm Republican. But now, apparently Ubisoft has actually changed their opening on the new Assassin's Creed. It says, inspired by historical events and characters, this work of fiction was designed and developed and produced by a multicultural team of various beliefs, sexual orientations, and gender identities. Yeah, alright. Because, I mean, when they originally used to be about, it was like, this was made by various religious faiths and beliefs. Was that because they were depicting, obviously, religious figures in the previous Assassin's Creed games and depicting cultures and history, and some people might go, I find that offensive. I mean, like Assassin's Creed 1 when it was set in the Middle East, in the Holy Land. So yeah, like I was saying, they had that disclaimer that it's a multicultural, diverse team made up of people who have different beliefs and different ideologies. And so anyway, back to Polygon, back to Far Cry 5 and Polygon. Absolutely laughable. So anyway, Far Cry 5, I get straight to the point. It was reviewed by Ben Kuchera. He goes, a horrible story ruins an enjoyable world. Now, Far Cry games are known to be these big open world games with stealth mechanics, a lot of gunplay mechanics as well. It's improved, like the gameplay has really improved over the course of the series. And he gave it a 6.5. It looks pretty good to me, the game. So I don't know why you gave it that. Anyway, to kind of summarise it, Mark Kern, when he tweeted to the second article, he said, I take it this means Far Cry 5 did not have the political slanted messages that mainstream game journalists were salivating for in their articles in the lead up to the game. The follow-up article says, Far Cry 5 doesn't want to offend anyone, so it will end up annoying everyone. I mean, let's find some things in the review here. It goes, so anyway, yeah, like I was saying, the vibe I got straight away. I don't have any bias or my own personal political leanings influencing my perception of what a game is. Oh, it must be anti-Trump supporting, kill the Christian rednecks simulator. No, I didn't think that at all. A doomsday prepper, crazy cults.
It's funny that in a place called Hope County, there are fanatics that believe the end of the world is coming. The Seed family. They're nothing more than a doomsday cult.
Got him!
Salvation from the collapse to anyone who devotes their life to the cause.
Those that try to harm us will suffer.
Now, we can't have the four horsemen of this so-called apocalypse trample all over our town.
Got him!
That's why you need to spark a resistance. Fight back against these maniacs.
And lo and behold, that's what they are. They're a religious cult who have they've brought up land apparently around, where is it set in? Hope, Idaho, is it set in? So it starts off with this cult, and the US government are worried because they've been buying up land. This cult, they've been buying farmland up from people, and as the deputy sheriff, you try to arrest the leader, Joseph Seed, who you've probably seen in like the trailers and stuff.
Jacob Seed runs the north with a heavily armed militia, forcing disciples to convert through control and fear. Then there's John, the self-proclaimed Baptist of the Valley, using intimidation to break you physically, mentally, and any other way he can.
Let's try that again.
Their sister Faith drugs and traps her victims like lambs to the slaughter, aiming to keep you in line and out of your damn mind. And finally, of course, the father, Joseph Seed. His followers see him as a savior, a visionary, but he's hell personified, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't care how you stop him. Just get it done. Polk County is our home. Don't let those bastards take it. Not without a fight.
So Ben and Kuchera can't help it. They go, it's a timely story that could at least try to address the polarised nature of current American politics, or talk about the issues inherent in a country that seems to worship firearms. But I never saw anything that hinted at how these cultists were radicalised, and their ultimate goal revealed at the end of the game undercuts any grand statement. I don't know about the ending, but I'm not going to spoil it here either. I mean, the Far Cry games have always shown both sides, that both sides can be evil. I mean, me and Crumple Point were talking about this sort of after our last episode of the Flat Pack. Each game has kind of shown both like factions, both sides, as neither good nor bad, or majority, basically. Or most of the time, not necessarily black and white, good and bad. It was both sides can be bad and are bad. You had Far Cry 1, which was you play as what was his fucking name? Jack Carver. Was his name Jack Carver? He was a smuggler, ex-military, and he was like a smuggler and pirate, and he gets attacked by pirates. And also they're like a sort of militia for this scientist who's been doing crazy experiments. They need to go back to that, by the way. I think they need to go back to like the Jack Carver. I think his name's Jack Carver. And then Far Cry 2, set in Africa. It's a civil war between several warlords who are fighting over blood diamonds and exploiting the land of these diamonds, fighting over that. Waging war and killing innocent people in the process. Neither of those factions were particularly nice either. And you were just you could choose your character in that one. Far Cry 3. You're in this Pacific Island holiday vacation type place, and it's called Rakiat. And they got these sort of Samoan type soldier. They're sort of like a tribe that are holding on to the sort of ancient religion that's on this island. And also you've got Vas, who's got his army of pirates again. And I'm trying to remember. Citra, who was leading the Rakiat warriors. So yeah, neither side was good. They were vying for power as well. And then Far Cry 4, which I'm in the middle of playing. And again, you've got the Golden Path, who is like the resistance, and there's like a power struggle within the Golden Path, this resistance that's fighting against Pagan Min, this tyrant in Kuchera, which is like this sort of Himalayan type place. He's acting as this tyrant, and the Golden Path is like this resistance. When you've got these two characters, Sabal and Amita, who are both Golden Path members, but each of them have different ideals. And at the moment, I'm siding with Sabal at the moment. He's very much like caring about the people. He's like, we need to take care of our own as we fight this war against Pagan Min. Whereas Amita is like, she's ready to throw anyone under the bus, and really not be ethical at all in as a means to an end to win the war against Pagan Min. And yeah, she's not. She comes across as really just a callous bitch. And so it'll be interesting, like whatever happens in Far Cry 5, sorry. And oh dear. So yeah, Ben Kuchera, he says in his review, like I was saying, that the everyone is bad argument pops up often. In one jaw-dropping sequence, you leave a scene of torture perpetrated by the bad guys only to end up in the bunker of the good guys. Guess what they're doing? If you said torturing someone to get information, you win. These two situations literally happen back to back without anyone in the game remarking on it. You can be in a cult or you can fight a cult, but torture is worth it and effective either way. So apparently, because the developers did a lot of research with cults in America, like they've spoken to people that have been brainwashed, and presumably like there's some like, in the game, there's the Peggies or the Preppers that take part in the violence. They're under the influence of a drug called Bliss, and you can tell when a character is under the influence of the drug from the green cloud around their heads. Bliss is used as a shortcut to get away from realistic storytelling and dive back into tired video game tropes. A boss fight with a character who warps around the level, complete with a health bar, is as ridiculous and pointless as it sounds. It's because it's a fucking game, Ben. It's not... Like, games can either be realistic... It's all escapism. And you can't escape from the fact that you shouldn't be a fucking game journalist. You shouldn't be a game journalist. You don't want to be a game journalist, do you, Ben? You'd rather be doing the hard-hitting news at the Wall Street Journal or something.
My Trump bashing, my Trump derangement syndrome is too much. Better take a swig of soy milk of your soy latte. Oh, God almighty. So anyway, he goes, the drug is meant to dehumanize the characters, so you feel more like you're gunning down zombies than humans. That sounds like that's pretty cool, sort of. That sounds like a cool theme to explore. Not that it's a negative thing. However, the game totally fails to recognize the horror of shooting American drug addicts while the nation deals with a very real ongoing opioid crisis. It's set in Montana. I can't remember I think I said Idaho. It's set in Montana. So yeah, the general absence of context in Far Cry 5 feels intentional, as if to smooth over any potentially controversial edges. You're fighting against a conservative religious cult that has taken control of a big chunk of Montana, which made some conservative and Christian commentators uncomfortable during the game's initial marketing. I mean, like I said to them, like, they're just a fucking snowflake. Like, if you can't stand fictional portrayal, like, come on, fucking lighten up. My free speech, you know, we've got to fight for that. Like, I'm quite self-deprecating. I take the piss out of myself. Ooh, that's a good idea, actually. Those folks shouldn't worry. Any thematic point to be made about religion, the United States, or the current state of the nation's politics is quickly thrown aside to make way for all sorts of jokes and light-hearted hijinks. Although you'll see a lot of crucifixions in your travels, it's clear that this is a cult based on Christianity, but holy hell, is the game careful to dance around that fact. I mean, I'm an atheist, and it seems like they're going for the sort of the Old Testament, you know, the hellfire and brimstone, your soul will burn for eternity. No sex before marriage, and Satan has corrupted the youth with these violent video games. But we're a violent cult. Oh, God. It wouldn't surprise me if anyone's taken, like some SJWs have had some hot takes like, oh, the cult is just like Gamergate. Ubisoft wanted the evocative art of these religious references for marketing of Far Cry 5, but the game itself is too timid to do anything with them, let alone dig into their historical baggage. I mean, the lead character, is a blank slate, has no name or backstory other than being in law enforcement, and you get to choose whether you look masculine or feminine. You can choose your skin tone, shit like that. I've seen like character customization. You're called either deputy or rookie as the game progresses, and you never speak. Why have they gone for a blank slate character? God, You got to have a main character that you can relate to. That's why I liked, in a way, Jason Brody in Far Cry 3. He was a young, brash, in his 20s, American tourist that was... His journey was, grow up. You got to rescue your friends and family. They've been captured. It's time to balls up, You got to suck your balls up and get on with it. And again with the main character in Far Cry 4, what's his name? RJ Garley. Again, he just came to Kyrat to spread his mother's ashes, return his mother's ashes to the homeland, and he got caught up in the entire Golden Path fight, the sort of the conflict. Apparently you can play co-op in this as well. But I mean, you've got loads of vehicles, you've got animals that hunt, that you can hunt to get skins, stuff like that. All for pretty much like Far Cry 3, 4 and this one. You can hunt animals for skins to upgrade your equipment. You can also, like with caged animals, you can lure them over to attack your enemies, things like that. That's really cool. Got new vehicles like biplanes and stuff. The lack of story depth is a shame, because this is one of, if not the best, playgrounds in the Far Cry series. This feels like Ubisoft Montreal has learned which parts of the games felt like work and which parts were fun, and it has focused with great intensity on producing more of those fun parts. A character even cracks a joke about not forcing you to climb towers around Hope County. A wink at one of the series' most overused side objectives, which was, to climb radio towers, which would open up areas of the map, and it would uncover new locations for you to go and explore. That's funny, like a little breaking the fourth wall kind of thing. Hey, at least you don't have to climb the towers. Or you can have a dog as a companion. Oh, and a cougar as well. They can like fetch weapons and items and things for you. But where is it here? He said, Ben Kuchera says, for now we're left with the core campaign. Far Cry 5 uses the religious and isolationist divides in America to set up a story without ever addressing their history and their very present danger. The story seems to give most of your enemies a get-out-of-jail-free card to explain their actions. They weren't bad, they were just drugged. And the main antagonist, well, if you hadn't picked a fight, maybe none of this would have happened. Well, the cult have been preparing to take back their country from the government, to fight off the government, and the government is then, and law enforcement are coming over to arrest him. So it's almost like a self-fulfilled prophecy that the government are actually being the antagonists of sorts. Even though this Joseph Seed and his cult are beating and killing people, they're crucifying people, they're drugging them. I mean, like Jonestown, doesn't it, with the Kool-Aid? Oh dear. And the main antagonist, well, if you hadn't picked a fight, This sort of argument that you are complicit in the violence that the game portrays and the villains take part in because you decided to play the game was interesting when Spec Ops The Line, in 2012, great game that was, did it in 2012, has grown tiresome in the repetitions since. Far Cry 5 makes fun of everyone on the political spectrum, so it should. Everyone should be free game, but a lot of these liberals aren't gonna. But don't take the piss out of me, I'm a libtard. Snowflake. This is the thing with Ben, right? And these other regressive leftists. Here we go. So he goes, makes fun of everyone on the political spectrum without ever taking a clear stand, except to say with a toothless confidence that murderous cults are bad, but maybe fighting them makes you just as bad, and in the end none of this matters anyway. It's a story that goes nowhere and ends with a whimper, at least in the ending I saw. There seems to be two endings, although I doubt there's a way to salvage the narrative in the last minutes after so many blown opportunities. But I wanted them to bash my Trump supporters and Christian conservatives and normal Second Amendment loving Republicans. Oh my god. Insultingly bad. A story that's insultingly bad, he says. Again, that's just your opinion, Ben. So anyway, with the follow-up article, I want to kind of keep it quick. I didn't read all of the review verbatim there, But again, the same with this like follow-up article is again by Ben Kuchera saying, yeah, Far Cry 5 doesn't want to offend anyone, so it will end up annoying everyone. He goes, the game's timidity and lack of investment in its own setup sinks what could have been an otherwise enjoyable entry in the series. The game has no idea what it wants to be, which allows it to collapse into meandering, defiantly inoffensive mess. That's because you journalists are like, you're so politically divisive. You're like, a game must have and share my same politics. That's why Ubisoft are having a tiptoe around, because they know you leftist SJWs. I hate to have to refer to it as SJWs, but if the shoe fits, right? I'm not the only person to think so. There are numerous oblique references to Trump. One side mission has you retrieving a certain infamous compromising tape for a federal agent who keeps talking about golden showers.
Got him!
But it's played for laughs rather than political commentary. Exactly. That's fine as a laugh. Like, The Guardian states that, apparently. Like, that's funny. Why does it have to be like, oh, look, another subtle jab at Trump? Like, because apparently, like, there's some characters that go and that literally say, yeah, screw Obama, fuck Obama. Art is supposed to reflect reality, right? But it can also deviate. It doesn't have to... It can be a reflection, but it can also... Creators can create what they want. The Eden Gates cultists might be extremists, but they're emphatically not white supremacist. It comes close to trying to say something but never actually does, and it's far more comfortable when it's being silly than serious, making you wish that it had committed wholeheartedly to playful satire rather than spreading its bets. Well, you know that what if some characters are like, who are these darn gays wanting gay marriage and stuff? Ting. Ubisoft. Anti-LGBT, they're homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic. Like, no, they're just exploring themes. Again, this is the problem with these SJW game journalists that want it to be propaganda rather than letting creators explore themes, exploring story. This sort of dissonance felt inevitable when the creative team at Ubisoft Montreal revealed the setting for Far Cry 5 in Hope County in rural Montana. There's the obvious problem. How does a series built on the freedom to roam an open world, murdering hundreds of enemies on a whim, merge with a story that demands a certain seriousness and focus? Even if the team solved that problem, there's the secondary issue of appealing to the largest possible audience. The thing they're saying, Far Cry series is too expensive to risk turning off potential group of customers. Again, if you're conservative, Republican, or whichever, and you got offended by the fact that this game has that they're Christians, like, come on, you're just as bad as the SJWs, and you're like snowflakes as well. You vote with your wallet. If you don't like it, like, don't buy it. Just stop bitching. I'm gonna play. Of course, I'm gonna play Far Cry 5. I really enjoy the series. I enjoy the bad guys. Vast was a really cool bad guy. For a group of violent, gun-fetishizing successionists, they're a remarkably apolitical lot, AV Club explained. These brainwashed and mantra-spewing monsters feel less like an original creation and more like the result of a focus group on an easily digestible evil, a concerted effort on someone's part to committee up some baddies that folks on either side of the political spectrum could happily murder by the hundreds. Jesus. Yeah, talking of Jesus. So yeah, like I said, the devs did a lot of research early on about the methods of recruitment and indoctrination into real life cults, what cults use to do to people. But Far Cry 5 largely trades uncomfortable truths about vulnerable, lonely or scared people for something simpler. The baddies have been hypnotized, drugged, or both. Well, yeah, they do prey on the weakness of people, you know, whether they've got low self-esteem or whichever else. Again, like, Ben Kuchera is a bit lazy. Like, I'm just going to take a quote from this place and this site. So he's saying about Eurogamer saying, there's little sustained investigation of wider social issues like the overlap between militant Christian extremism and white supremacy or sexism. Indeed, the game generally ducks such questions. The cult's ranks are stocked with a mixture of races and genders, in what feels like a careful sanitizing of the subject matter. Like, there's nothing wrong with, yeah, if they explore, but that's not what they advertised the game. They really wanted this to be, oh, they're a bunch of white supremacist KKK clan. That's not what Ubisoft were exploring. They never promised that. They never advertised Far Cry 5 as that. I mean, we were talking, me and Crumple Point were saying, what if they do one set in the Middle East? And it's ISIS. Like, here we go. For Far Cry 6, here you go. You work for an oil company. And, this happened, didn't it? A few, years ago. People that worked for an oil company, they got taken hostage. There you go. There's your idea for Far Cry 6, Ubisoft. Set in the Middle East, you work for an oil company, just a standard, I don't know, like an American engineer that's over there working for this private company. And ISIS comes along and has taken you all hostage, and you have to free hostages, free your fellow employees and colleagues and other people. And the story could go on from there. That's the biggest threat at the moment, isn't it? Is ISIS? Why not? Oh, that's right. Anita Sarkeesian says about games that were set in the Middle East, like shooters back in like the sort of mid 2000s, like when in the Xbox 360, PS3 era, when those shooters were out. Those games normalised Islamophobia apparently because you were shooting brown people. Like, she really played into the identity politics there, didn't she, in one of her videos? Shooting brown people and normalising Islamophobia. No, it's set in the Middle East because there was a conflict over in the Middle East. That's why. I mean, Konami were going to do that. There was a first-person shooter game which was advertised as going to be really realistic. It was by Konami and it was called 6 Days in Kuwait, was it? No, what was the name of that place? I can't remember the name of the bloody game. It was something like that, like 6 Days in Kuwait or something like that. So yeah, these SJW game journalists are just annoyed that it didn't go all out bashing Republicans, and they couldn't stand that some of because it's set in Montana, which is a sort of predominantly, I don't know if it's a predominantly red belt, a red state. Most of the sort of the good characters, the good NPCs that you see, they're just normal American folk. They're working class. They want to keep to themselves. They respect their laws and their constitution. Like the Second Amendment. They protect my property. They can't stand it. Oh my God, some of these good characters are Christian, conservative Republicans, and it just shows how intolerant these leftist, anti-culture warriors are. I'm going to leave I'm not reading the entire article. It's just a kind of summary of what those two articles, the review and the article, the follow-up one. Come on, Ben. Just let Ubisoft create what they want. Stop trying to make it into propaganda. And what does he mean by it that it doesn't take a stance? Like, why does it have to take a stance? Like, surely, what separates propaganda from creating a cool, unique story is that an artist presents the viewer or the player with a bunch of ideas and leaves the player to decide, let me explore these different ideas, rather than having a creator bash like this what you should believe, rather than smashing a message over someone's head. Yeah, that ain't gonna fly. Take the hand of... I mean, yeah, Herc, who is a character who appears in Far Cry 4, also appears in Far Cry 5. He's like running for Congress or something. He's like a Republican senator or something, and he says stuff like Obama-loving libtards. He's a joke character. He's meant to be a joke character. He's meant to be like funny and silly. But yeah, I'm excited to play Far Cry 5. Ben Kuchera, stop trying to dictate to creators what they can and can't create. Stop. You can just tell that these SJWs just want to live out their violent power fantasies against conservatives. It's so pathetic. It really is. Like, what is someone going to do in response? Like, make a first-person shooter game, but killing SJWs? Ugh, silly. So yeah, I'm Flattmeister. Leave a comment down below. I want to hear what you guys think about this. So I'll catch you in the next video, and I'll see you later.